Right now, I am in the middle of crunch time for my game Union Jack. The Punk versus Police factions, the first two to come out, are nearly sculpted, and I've got to catch up on artwork, get a bunch of lore written, write it myself, sort out some rulebook stuff, sort out a lot of business stuff, and that is going to take a long time. But something I need is terrain. I had a little shot at this a little while back, and this is the sequel to that. This is me attempting to make the perfect terrain for my game. Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max, and this is a big project in itself within a project. Now, there are a few companies that make modern day terrain, stuff that is made purposely for like Marvel Crisis Protocol or the Batman miniatures games. That is very modern and would work for this. I don't want to go down the route of being like a Games Workshop where they deny that they use any other company's products, because I know that's not true, and I know their painters sneak in better brushes. There are two companies which I'd like to shout out that make really good terrain that would be appropriate for this modern day setting. I've written them down so I don't forget the specific ranges. So first of all, Warcradle Scenics make ranges named thusly: Augusta, Dunsmouth, Funland, Miscom, Promethean, Retribution, and Super City. That would all be suitable for this game. And also the big dogs in MDF terrain, TT Combat, do the range called City Streets, which is something I'm going to reference in this video. Now, the reason I'm not just going to use TT Combat stuff is that I don't want to have to ask anyone permission for anything. So this is my own game. I'm going to do promo shots with the train in the background. I'm going to be using it in test games, maybe playthroughs on YouTube. All this stuff, I don't want to have to ask other companies permission if I can use their product in my promotional material. So I need to make something that is purely mine and mine only. So let's have a little look at the past and see what I've made before and the plan moving forwards. Also, if you could do a little interaction on this video, I'm dropping down to a once a fortnight schedule while I work on this game, because it is a lot of work. Every piece of art I do takes days to do for this project, and I'm going back and forth with the sculptor, and I'm about to start talking to casters. It's a lot of work and admin, so running this and the channel is quite hard together. Thank you for the Patreons who are sticking it out with me. Thank you very much. We've had a few drop out due to the, I'm assuming, lack of content coming out, but it is difficult. So if you would like to join the Patreon, I'll put it up early this episode over that side. The Patreons are over here. Thank you very much. And if you do not want to do that, leave it a like or a comment or press the subscribe button. Please do subscribe, because you know how YouTube works. Everyone says this. A little interaction helps boost you in the algorithm and more people see it. And then the channel gets more support, more money. Thank you all very much. Let's have a little look at the past, and we will see what I made previously and how we're moving forward. Some of you may remember when I made a UK corner shop into miniature wargaming terrain. Now, this project went reasonably well, I thought at the time, but I've recently got sculpts back for my UK-based miniatures game, Union Jack. This is set in 1999, and it is an alternate fantasy Britain, so I made this terrain with the larger characters in mind, making sure that all of them could fit through the doors, but I thought of an easier way. I've written into the rules that all characters can fit through all doors, but windows are different. Windows have to be at least half the width of the base for a character to fit through them. So now this building is ridiculously scaled, and there are a few problems with me producing this terrain, as I was really happy with the detail and extra touches I put into it. However, it is not feasible to manufacture this with the amount of wood it takes and the amount of time it takes on the laser cutter. Let me get into some of the issues with this. So first of all, I've put in too much detail into bits that maybe don't need it. It looks good. See, the texture on this roof looks like a cement or asphalt roof. It's a little bit too much for the laser cutter to handle in a timely manner. And then in this building here, I've put a lot of detail into the floor, and also you see that massive gap the stairs take up. the stairs take up a lot of room. So I've got to figure out what I'm doing with that, because it can't stay the way it is. And essentially, I've got to go back to the drawing board on this project. I really liked how it looked, but those stairs take up so much room and are so big compared to a normal scale 32mm model. This is the doorway here. You can see that I have scaled it very large for the larger characters. This is Sergeant Wall from the game, one of the ogre police officers, and he looks like he fits in this door. But Sergeant Wall is meant to be a large character. This makes him look average size. This is Riot, the punk Minotaur, and he also fits through that door just fine, which is as designed. However, these are the normal size characters. This is Inspector Nganga. This is one of the police characters, and he looks like a child. This is Propane, one of the punks, and she also looks like a child. This is scaled completely wrong for what I had in mind. These guys are not the average size. These guys are the average size. So I need to go back to the drawing board entirely and rethink everything to make something good. So let's do a bit of research first. TT Combat produce lovely cityscape terrain. So I've bought a few of their kits to do a bit of research and have a look how they handle some of these issues. They are the leader in MDF terrain, so surely I can learn something from looking at a master's work. This is about the right scale, so I can get rough measurements for doorways and windows, how big things should be, not copying exactly, but how big I think they should be for my miniatures, because there's a lot of variety in the TT Combat terrain, and all of the kits look very different to each other. Some come in sets, but otherwise they are very varying, you can see here. Let's have a little look at how they've handled detail. So my roof on my one was very textured, and they have a couple of straight lines. This is super fast to do with the laser cutter, so that's a better way to do that. And now with the texture for the brickwork, it's just straight lines. There's no extra little bits and bobs, a few little extras on the windows to add windowsills, and just straight lines for the wood, no extra texture. So have they mastered the simplicity, and is this all you need compared to the laser has to go all over this roof like a printer back and forth to do that dot texture. And this brickwork is heavily engraved with extra little details which take the laser a lot of time to get in and around. It's not much for one brick, but added up to a whole wall, it's a lot of time that takes to do that. Now this one doesn't even have window sills, it's just got little bits of extra design, but you can also see the edges just join. I put extra effort into mine to try and hide that join on the front kind of display edge of this. You can see that there is an extra sheet over the top, taking up more resources and more time. But a problem I find with this terrain that I'd like to solve with mine is that they don't line up very nicely to make a town. The one on the left here has a pavement that doesn't connect to anything around here, and those steps poke out. And then this one has a fence. So no matter how you line them up, it's very difficult to make it look like a town. Even if you line the two up that look like they have a little bit of pavement, then that fence cuts it off if anyone were to take a stroll down there. So how am I going to fix that and learn from this terrain and make mine better? Modularity is going to be something key. Everything fits the same footprint, which means it works together. That's my design idea for this. Everything will work together, and you'll be able to create custom layouts and make it all personal and specific to how you want that board, based on everything sharing a footprint and sharing pieces. You can make buildings as tall by mix and matching, or as short as you like. Nice and easy to play with, and easy to design? Question mark? Thanks to my research, I now knew a rough scale I wanted for the floor plan for all of these buildings, so I could start there and start working on the tabs and how it all connected. Now this isn't the exact same size as any of the buildings from TT Combat, however it is difficult to come up with a different construction method for what is essentially a wooden box than already exists. I'm trying my best to not copy any structural or design elements from TT Combat, but however, MDF terrain is MDF terrain, and it is made on a 2D plane out of bits of MDF. So it's hard not to see parallels between designs when designing urban things based on real buildings that we see every day. There is going to be parallels, but I'm trying my best to come up with my own designs here. Starting with the floor and the walls and the ceiling, I can make a box that can be the basis for every building in this set to make up a city's worth of terrain for a 3x3 board. That seems like a lot of stuff to make, but once I have got this little bit figured out and how it will all go together, I will have a bunch of reusable elements to then make a variety of buildings. This is a benefit of designing modular terrain for the designer. The benefit for the player using the terrain is that everything will fit together perfectly, and you can make lovely boards with symmetrical terrain and it will all fit together. There'll be no jank of like the pavements crashing into each other and stuff. After the technical elements, I would then make patterns. Some brick walls would be very useful in this design, I thought, and I decided to go the same route, just using lines to make them. No extra texture, no extra gumph on all of it. This would be the easiest way to get the laser around it quickly and save time and resources. Then I designed a bunch of different shop signs so that I can recycle the elements I've made for the residential buildings into commercial buildings and maybe just change the front window display at the bottom. I have got a lot of ideas here. This Dungeons and Discounts one ended up being too tall as they had to be lower than an entire wall to fit on the design properly because the floors jut out just a smidge so that everything can connect. So there are some design elements that have to be considered, and you can also see at the top there I've got holes for staircases but no staircases, taking my lesson from the TT combat terrain. Just put a hole in there and players can imagine stairs. That's how they've got around this problem, and I'm hoping to be able to use the same solution in my kit here. Now that I have everything collected to start making a building, I put them together into groups for each floor and got them into a rough A4 shape because I cut at home on A4 blanks on my personal laser cutter. This is the best way for me to do it. Try and figure it out like a puzzle and make sure there is no space left over, so I'm fully utilizing each sprue with all of these elements. But once all the walls are in the best way possible, I will undoubtedly be left with small areas that would need to be filled. I will do this with greeblies. I will start designing little bits and bobs that can be reused across other sets as well. Like here I am making a satellite dish for this residential block. As in the 90s, sky dishes are very prominent. Maybe not so much now, but you still see them on houses. I know a lot of houses in my street have a sky dish on the side so they can watch satellite TV. Why are we still paying for satellite TV? We've got Netflix. If you're paying for Sky, cancel that now. Join the 21st century and get into streaming. Sidetrack aside, these greeblies can be then added to my collection of bits for this project, and then I can reuse them again on other bits of terrain. This will come in useful when doing shops and stuff because I'll make little tables, I'll make sets of shelves, I'll make CCTV cameras, and I'll make a bunch of stuff that can go in a bunch of other sets so that everything has interesting detail and that it also looks realistic rather than a flat box of a building. This adds a bit more dimension to something that MDF terrain does struggle with, looking like a flat box. So this helps with that and adds more detail to it. I'll make a little grate here that will fit in some small areas and add a bit of extra detail, some ventilation for the outside of buildings. And then it's finally time to test my designs. I've got no idea if any of this is going to actually work in reality. I've designed terrain before, so I roughly know you've got to work in 3mm blocks because that's the thickness of the MDF terrain. But I don't know if this is going to work. A pile of bits later, and we have something to start putting together. Wood glue is what I recommend. PVA glue will do. Super glue soaks in a bit weird, but sometimes works depending on the super glue. So wood glue is my recommendation. These were the only bits I did wrong. The sign holes needed adjustment, and this door frame needed adjustment upwards as well to fit the windowsill on the side there properly. but 2 out of all of those pieces being slightly incorrect. Not bad. So I went back to the drawing board on those and fixed them. And then we have our lovely GFC, greasy fried chicken, with a very British colonel in a bowler hat. This is a fully modular, fully playable piece of terrain. It is not over-designed. It did not take 4 years to cut out on the laser cutter. And it is the right scale for my miniatures games and other miniatures games. Everyone can fit in and around here. I'll use a random base and one of the tester models to see the height of the counter. Yep, that policeman looks like he works in a KFC now, as a GFC now. And I'll test the height of the door with this random base too. This is a 40mm base. These miniatures will be on a 32, so it looks a bit wrong, but it's just for testing the height. And there we go. He does look like he could fit through that door, and that the door is the right size for him. I've nailed it. Time to cut some more and build a city of terrain. Now this stuff I will put on sale slowly. I want to make detailed instruction booklets because it can be complicated, but this is starting to look good. I am very happy with this terrain and the pavements that modularly go round the outside, all the extra bits and bobs that make this look lived in. This is good terrain. I've made this myself and I'm very proud and happy with these designs. They are extremely accessible for you to get in and out of during a game, and you can move models up and down floors. There's a lot of shooting and little point of view areas that you could get to. It's very 90s themed, wannabe nail bar based on the Spice Girls song, and everything is looking pretty good. The shops work nicely as small or mid-sized buildings, and I've got a few larger residential buildings with a mixture of textures in there as well. Some of them are brick, but some of them are a flat surface that you could paint as rendering, or just paint a nice block color if you wanted to. Now, scale of all of them looks good. This is in Ganga and Wall again, and they look like they could go in that shop, and it would be a tight squeeze for Wall, but he could fit through if he really wanted to. And then Propane and Riot. This makes the big guys look like a suitable threat and that you wouldn't want to come across them. And that's what I wanted. My old terrain made them look regular size, and now they look nice and big and scary. Now I have my terrain, I've got a fuck ton of painting to do, so bear with me for part 2 of this video. Do the subscribe and you will see the part 2 of all of this painted. I found a really good mat for this that is meant for the Batman Arkham stuff. I may make my own bottom or area board. Board is the word. I may make my own board for this. I may use the mat. I'll see how it goes. I plan on releasing this terrain at some point, but as I said, I want to make a nicely detailed instruction book first for each kit. Now that takes time to sort out the diagrams and everything, so it won't be soon. This isn't going to be part of the initial launch unless I get it ready as maybe Kickstarter rewards. You get some terrain with your minis. That's quite a good idea. Write that down. I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm the only one here. But what I'm saying is this is not the main project. This is a side project within the project. A distraction. My ADHD, it got the better of me and I made another thing. And I'm doing Kung Fu. So thank you all for watching. And if you want to see the finished board, come back in another 2 weeks and I will have painted every piece of terrain. I'm going to go hard with like graffiti tags, and I'm going to make it look run down and British. See you next time. Do that subscribe. Thank you. Bye. Good morrow.